All right, let's go to New Orleans. Let's go to Orlando, who is playing the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm going to lay the money line minus 120. Right before we hopped on and moved off the -1 to -1.5, it's already at 2 in some spots. So I'm going to take the money line on the Pels minus 120. I mean, if you look at both of these teams, fellas, you cannot find a category against the spread that they have not been profitable all year. If you look at the Magic, I'll pull out some good ones. As a home favorite, 16-3 ATS with equal rest against some of the same teams when they're playing on the same rest plane, 28-6 ATS. As the home team, they're 23-9 ATS all season, 46-23 ATS. After a loss, 18-10 ATS. And then if you look over to the Pelicans, it's a lot of the same. 39-28-1 ATS. That's number 3 in the NBA. After a loss, 17-8-1 ATS. As an away underdog, 10-5-1 ATS. So if you're looking at just those numbers there across the board, both teams have been some of the best in the NBA. But in this spot, the Pelicans are flat out a better team and a bad matchup for the Magic, in my opinion, since the All-Star break. Magic, 29th in the NBA in turnovers, while being 28th in the NBA in pace. They're averaging only 95 possessions a game post All-Star break, but still turning it over at almost the worst rate in the NBA. Then on the flip side, Pelicans 8th in creating turnovers at 14.2 a game. Now, let's talk about the Magic as of late. They've been rolling 9-2 ATS the last 11 games. But listen to the games in the comp they've been playing. They've been beating up on the bottom dwellers in the NBA. Go back to February 24th. You feel me, Jay? Go back to February 24th.
Mm-hmm.
They beat up on Detroit the game after that. They lost to the Hawks. Then they beat up on the Nets, Utah, Detroit, Charlotte, Washington. Then they lost to the Knicks in the Garden. They scored 74 points. Then they played the Pacers. They lost that game. What do you know? They bounce back and get a W against Brooklyn. Then they get 2 wins in a row against Toronto and then a win against Charlotte. That's the last 12 games since February 24th for the Orlando Magic. Now, I know they've been playing well, playing D well. Paolo's been playing well, but those are the worst teams in the NBA. Now, on the flip, Pelicans number 2 in the NBA since the All-Star break in net rating at 9.9 and have been playing way tougher competition. Biggest part of this cap, fellas, for me here is the Pelicans have someone for Paolo Banchero, and that is Herb Jones. In wins this year, Paolo is shooting 50.4%. True shooting is at 59.1%. In losses, it drops to 41.8% and then 50.9%. Herb Jones is going to give Paolo Banchero enough trouble where he's not going to be shooting 50.4% from the floor. I expect him to give him difficulty as the primary defender. Last couple points here. The Pelicans flat out have the best player on the floor in Zion, best shooters around him, and can play top level defense just like Orlando, the Orlando Magic can. So I really like the Pelicans in this spot. I think this is Orlando's been beating up on the worst teams in the league. Now they're going to see one of the best teams in the league, especially post All-Star break. I don't think they can keep up. Give me the Pelicans money line minus 120. J Money is money. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to talk you off. I lean the Pelicans here as well. There's only one point in this game that I don't like, and that's the fact that they have the Heat on deck the next night. So it is the front end of a back-to-back, but they should still. I mean, it's not like you can just overlook the Magic. This is the best point spread covering team so far this year, which I know the Pelicans aren't looking like that, but still the Magic aren't a pushover. They're 41-28. So I'm saying, so the Pelicans only got like a little bit better record than them. So they actually have a better record than the Heat. So you can't be looking past them to Miami, which we know that that's more of a like bigger name game or whatever. But still, Pelicans have been balling. I mean, you nailed it. The Magic hadn't really been beating anybody. Both teams are 8-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games. Pelicans are a little bit further on, like we know the Magic have made a huge jump this year, but they're not like to that top level, like somewhere almost like breaking into the cream of the crop like the Pelicans are. This is a really deep team. I do think they got the better bench as well. There have been both coaches have did a hell of a job. I mean, Mosley probably a little bit better job, but the Magic aren't there yet. They're still a young team, whereas the Pelicans have plenty of weapons to throw at these guys. They have the much better offense, and like you said, they have multiple defenders that they can go at guys that McCarroll, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. This Pelicans team is really well balanced, and I feel like the Magic, they lean more on their defense. They can get it done offensively, but they lean more on their defense. The Pelicans get it done multiple ways, so I heavily lean their way as well. I think the Pelicans come out here with a win. I agree with you here.
AC, any thoughts on the Pels going down to Orlando? I really like the spot overall.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of thoughts on this game. I love both teams. I think Orlando reminds me of like a young Detroit Pistons team, like back in the mid 2000s. Like they slow the game down, they grind it out because they know they don't have the firepower to play against, the Warriors, the Celtics, teams like that. So they really, really put an emphasis on each possession, which I love. But that plays into the hands of New Orleans. Like New Orleans can play that style really well. If you look at their bench players, guys, they're all plus defenders. Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall, Larry Nance. Like that's the five coming off the bench, in addition to your starters who all play defense already, right? So I mean, the Pelicans are built for that type. And then Jay hit it right on the spot. They're versatile. They could play that style. And then if they want to run and gun, shoot threes, they can do that as well with Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. So they can win in multiple ways. To Sean's point, Orlando Magic's strength of schedule is 30th in the NBA. So they're playing up now to their competition. And the fact that Orlando has won this matchup 8 out of the last 10 games, but now is an underdog, I think that's a really big tell right there. So good spot. Good job finding the Pelican spot.
Yeah. That's a good point, AC. I was going to mention it as well that the Pelicans have been getting owned by the Magic. They've lost 3 straight and 8 of the last 10 as well. So they got to look at this game and say, hold on, y'all been kicking our ass. It's our time to smack y'all boys up in this one. So that was a good point, AC.